guys, so I'm here at the Women's Equality Party protest over police corruption and police misuse of power. I'm here with Elizabeth, who I have actually met before at a different event a few weeks ago, only briefly though. She is the chair of the GMP Race Equality Panel.
GM Race Equality Panel.
GM Race Equality Panel. That word's just in my vocab. Anyway, on that note, after messing it up, I'll hand it over to Elizabeth to explain.
Well, I'm one of the chairs of one of the equality panels that Andy Burnham was insightful enough to put together that would help guide his work as a GM mayor, and that's been hugely important work. We've been able to look at police and criminal justice, we've looked at health and well-being, we've looked at housing, we've looked at employment, and we've looked at education, and we've had some very strong findings, but without doubt, there is a disproportionately worse impact for everything on black people in the communities of Greater Manchester. And that is, well, you've heard enough is enough, test and protest, and that's how we feel, enough is enough. And we've tried to stand up for that. But recently we sort of got into a bit of trouble because we decided that we didn't think we had to work with the police if they would not accept the terminology institutional racism. We felt that was hugely important. But as it happens, there is a remit.
Oh, sorry.
There is a remit around that role, and so we didn't realise, I suppose, its limitations, and so it's clear that things like the Alliance for Police Accountability are going to be hugely important in taking this work forward, because you need some kind of independent body to be in place to allow us to speak the truth, because we can't be shut down every time.
In your view, from your experience with your work, do you find there to be a disproportionate effect on black people? Because from all the campaigning I've done, obviously I've seen the statistics, but my take on it would be more that the police treat working class people terrible, and obviously a lot of black people are in the working class, a lot of the ethnic minorities in the working class, so I've found it to be more broadly a class issue.
Well, Zayna Iman, you know, this is my degree, so I'm not just joking at this. I've actually studied this and got an honours degree from Ruskin, Oxford, on the back of the work that I understand about global inequalities, of which UK is just one, you know, so I can tell you what it's like across the world. And what I would say is, Zayna Iman said it, the experts have said it, there is an absolute marrying of race and class. You can't separate the two. So race and class are combined. But I couldn't correlate, if you were to take just class as being the factor and then put that against race and class, you would find that it's race and class. That's the factor that's worse. So we can say what we like about women's equality for pay, but as long as we're prepared to let black women, so women from ethnically diverse groups, let's count Bangladesh and all those things, as long as we're prepared to pay them 40 pence for an hour's work, or £2.50 for a day's work, as they did with the ships, P&O, they did it famously. As long as you can pay black workers less, there'll never be equality in pay, ever. Because
so we're talking about the UK or other countries?
In the UK. The P&O dispute, yes, absolutely, it went further, but I stood on the picket lines of Liverpool. So that was at Liverpool docks. So, we have to question why we are so comfortable to sit with certain members of the community having a worse deal. Why should black women be 4 times more likely to die in childbirth? Why should they? Why should black men be twice as likely, absolutely the figure has come down, to be stopped and searched? Why isn't it just the same? A criminal's a criminal, as far as I'm concerned. They all need putting away. I'm not giving any favours to anybody who's done wrong things. But, this is just not acceptable. Why? Just because of the colour of my skin. This is my country. This is where I live. I was appalled to hear it was Pendleton Station. I live in Salford. I've gone to that police station with my documents when I've needed to. I don't want to think that's happening in my city where I live. So I'm going to do something about that, because I feel like, as a member of the public, it's time to say no. I am not leaving this legacy to my grandson. I have a grandchild who's 4, a boy. And when I look at the statistics for what is happening to young men, young black men in our city, I can't stay silent anymore. And when I hear that a woman, a black woman, can be raped and abused because...
We're talking about Zayna here.
We're talking about Zayna just because what? She was showing clear signs of mental disturbance following the taking of drugs. Yeah, I'll say that out there. But does that mean she should be raped and abused? Absolutely not. So you never know. You know, we're all 5 minutes from a different future. 5 steps from a different future entirely. From being homeless, from being, out and about, out of a job, all those things. So I think we need to look at this as it's all of us, and we need to look collectively, and we want a good society. The majority of people are good. The majority of the force, let's say, are good, but unfortunately we hear about the bad stuff.
It's interesting that you say that, because actually one of my friends said this, and I'm actually of the opinion with the police that actually most of them are not good, and that institutionally they are not good, but it's actually individual police officers that are good and do good things and who we want to encourage in the force. Yeah. So what do
Actually, I'll concur with you. It didn't take long to be convinced, because I thought, because I thought, what did I just base that on? And I thought, I based that on having met some individuals who are absolutely outstanding.
Yeah.
But actually,
the good ones are great, but the bad ones are truly
Are they the exception?
Yeah. So, in your role then, and with your experience...
And everybody I know's had awful treatment from the police.
Yeah. I can't really say I've had too many great experiences. But what do you think we should do? So for me personally, I'm obviously going down the lawyer route. I want to litigate, I want to do private prosecutions, I want to bring civil actions. I don't know if you know who Michael Mansfield is. He was at the event we were at the other week.
Yes, I saw
Yeah,
him.
I spoke to him. He's a well-known human rights barrister, and I ran the plan past him, and he approved of it. So I thought, this is a go-go now. Yeah, this is fantastic. But what is your avenue for holding the police accountable? That's obviously mine. That's just one way of doing it. But obviously, you've got your own.
Well, we were we did a piece of work which is scrutinising the scrutineers, if you like. So we made connections with the people, the scrutiny panel, chairs, because all those things are in place. So they weren't going to make the GM Race Equality panel another scrutiny panel. There's no point duplicating that work. But we felt if that work was being done, we wouldn't keep coming back with the anecdotal information that we have. Anecdotally, if I'm in a room, a community room, where there's men there, 8 out of 10 of them will say they have been stopped and searched recently anyway, but more than 4 times, more than 10 times in a year, 4 being the lowest, 10 times being, some just ridiculous numbers of how often. And
have you ever been stopped and searched?
I haven't been stopped.
Neither do I. Neither have I, sorry.
Stopped in my car. I've been stopped and, made to produce documents because I used to drive a BMW. I've recently changed it. I'm just fed up because I went from a BMW to a Mercedes to I just got too much attention. Yeah. So, I've changed my car.
I've never been stopped and searched, and I actually think they tend not to do it with women, but also I think it's to do with, as well as the obvious issues, how you dress. And my friends say I dress like a middle-class journalist with my coat. So I think maybe that's why.
I think how we dress is part of it. Yeah. I look at my treatment in all spheres as improving dramatically. If I have high heels, a smart coat on, a smart clothes on, I should be able to go in there with my jeans and trainers, to be honest, and still get the same treatment, but you don't. People make judgments about you all the time.
Yeah, your clothing impacts the way you're treated more than I ever realised. When I walk into a court or I walk around in my suit, the treatment I get is different than if I go into boots in just like a tracksuit, because I'm just popping out of the house. Yep. And then I'm looked at like I'm a criminal. I once had a security guard follow me around. When I'm in the suit, people are just like, oh, she's clearly a professional. She wouldn't do anything.
Absolutely 100% true. And I have to say, should this be okay for black women? I talk about it in a training that I designed for my workplace. But just like with anything else, the more contentious, the more real you make your training, the more real you make your comments to the people in command, the more that you're targeted, the more that you are pushed to the peripheries. You live in fear of your job being taken off you because you're saying the contentious thing, you're saying the organisation isn't doing well in terms of its race policies. And if you challenge any of that, you for sure are singled out. I couldn't encourage anybody who wasn't prepared to lay everything on the line to do anything about race, because the way that people close their doors to you if you say something that's against them, I think is frankly disgusting, and I've said that at today's panel meeting. I think it's out of order.
Well, I'm really glad that you're speaking up about this. Even I have to be very careful, just because it's not even necessarily obvious misconduct in the profession, but it can be regarded as uncouth, unconventional, and then people start to get a bit of a distasteful attitude towards you.
I think that's absolutely true, and it's the it's those smaller actions that people call microaggressions, but I call them everyday racism. It's just that you won't be forwarded into a certain thing. They're not coming to you to ask for your little interview to say how good the organisation is. Perhaps when there's a chance to elevate you, you're less likely to be the one who's chosen, and it's all those things. And it's like, I want to sort of say to you as a young woman, and I think I've lived that part of life where you are now at, to be more careful. I shouldn't have to be saying that to you. I should have walked in steps that meant it was easy for you to just be yourself. It's been such an amazing thing. I love the fact you've got natural hair. To make those steps, because I know I'll be treated differently if I've got my weave on.
I do love my afro. I always get compliments on it.
Then I do with afro, but then I do with afro. But even then, I think there's gradations of who they'll accept, and I think the blacker you are, the worse the treatment. I'm sorry.